Jim, what is your opinion on Vince hiring Heyman and Bischoff to be the executive producers of Raw and SmackDown?
Oh, I've thought about this over the last couple of days, and I have several thoughts I will share with you. One is, Eric Bischoff running anything at this point, that's crazy, but I think Vince McMahon is snatching up everybody he thinks the other guys might snatch up, and he's probably convinced himself that, all these decisions are good as well. So Bischoff, whatever. With Heyman, obviously he will do... Well, I don't know whether he'll do a better job or not, because we still don't know whether, is this like one of the Bill Watts deals where, oh yes, you've got complete control of wrestling and for 2 weeks until I start changing it. Or is this an autonomous position outside of Vince that, so those questions remain to be seen. But yeah, Paulie's great at everything. He's a great booker, as we've talked about. He cuts great promos. He's a great personality on camera. And because he's such a fucking master swerver, he can talk people into doing almost any fucking thing. So he's perfect to be a business executive. My shock there is I just don't know how these motherfuckers have the energy to do this shit anymore. How, in all honesty, because Paul, I know Bischoff's older than I am, but of course he needs money from what I've heard. So I'm sure he'll take any fucking job. And also, when you think about the fucking track record of success for both those years that he ran WCW 20 years ago, and has basically, he's a great TV performer, Eric Bischoff is. But this is, as far as being creative or being a booker, no, never, 1,000 times no. And, I guess he's going to work with the TV network. We know from Turner he was good at conning TV networks because he made them think that he knew what the fuck he was doing. But once again, he's 4 years old or whatever. And Paul, surprisingly, as we've mentioned, is 5 years younger than me, but he's still in his early 50s. And I've said this about Paul before, just when he started managing Lesnar and going to Raw, how does he have the fucking energy and the passion and the want to do that anymore at this stage? And I'm shy and I'm, proud for him. But when you think about it, and especially if it's just going to be a job where you do what you want to do, as long as it's what Vince wants you to do. And Paul had those before. That's why they went sideways, 15 years ago, the first time. And every other time since then, probably. Yeah. So if it's that, then I started thinking, I say, what? Because I know they're paying a ridiculous amount of money these days, because they're doubling all the wrestlers' contract offers and paying the executives a fucking fortune with the stock and blah, blah, blah. They get, but I thought to myself, if somebody came to me and said, Jim, for a year, right? Because I've always said, if somebody gave me $1 million for a fucking year, I'd do anything for a year. But if somebody came to me and said, we'll give you $1 million, just have this job for a year, that is perplexing, because I don't know if it was real, which now these money amounts, it's starting to be real. So somebody could actually do this someday, because whoever thought they'd offer the rest of these yahoos this much money? And I would have to turn down $1 million. And that would probably cause me to have some kind of aneurysm, because in my brain it would self-destruct. They're willing to give you $1 million. But when you think about it, if let's say that you're the vice president of Raw, that apparently means you're going to have to go to Raw. And Heyman already has been to begin with. Now, he lives in New York, so he's got a fucking foot up on everybody else. Because if you get anything relating to a full-time job with the WWE, if you don't move to New York or Connecticut, then you're never going to be home. And Bischoff lives in Colorado. I would think he's probably only going to be home a day or two a week, or whatever the fuck he can work out. So Paul's got a foot up on him there, but just to go to Raw, you have to go in the night before, because the meetings begin early the next day. I never once got up some morning when I worked there and we all said, okay, we're going to Raw tonight. We were already in that town the night before. So that's a hotel on Sunday night. And then you get out at midnight. So it's a hotel on Monday night. So you are guaranteed to be in a hotel room 104 nights out of the year just to go to Raw. And that's not counting if you go to other meetings or go to other TV tapings, or you're needed at a pay-per-view, or you're working with the network, or you're working with the writing team, so you got to be in Connecticut or whatever the fuck. So I figured out just when I was last with Ring of Honor that I was going to be in a hotel room, I think 70 nights that year. I said, fuck, I have a 1 in 5 chance of waking up dead in a hotel room instead of my fucking house. And then the amount of flights, and even for people who like to fly or who don't mind flying, actually, I don't think anybody likes to fly anymore, but who don't mind flying like myself, you're in airports every fucking week, multiple times, and hotel and the rental cars, and not mentioning doing the job and the work when you have to sit there and for my case, see what in a lot of cases modern wrestling has become, and the way that even trained modern wrestlers think versus sanity, and that stress and aggravation and pressure. And then if you're like me, I'm pretty sure Paul's like this also. I think Bischoff don't give a shit. If you're a perfectionist and everything that you do and everything that has your name on it has to be exactly like you want it, and you obsess on it to the exclusion of all else, and the mental stress there, I would have to turn down $1 million because I wouldn't do that for a month. I'd crack up. I'd go to jail in some incident in the airport because I'd be a combination of Xanaxed and on nerves end and in a panic when somebody did the wrong thing. Or I'd flip out over the fucking way that these guys think these days. Or I would be sitting there in a hotel room at 4:00 in the morning, not able to sleep because I'm thinking I could be fucking home with Puppy and Stacy. So I applaud them that they have the energy and the desire to do this. But this year I'm going to be, I figured out, and especially if the rest of the year goes approximately the way I have planned and nothing comes up, I'm still going to be in a hotel room about 40 nights this year, which was way more than I had planned. And I just can't imagine it. So all congratulations to them. But we're too old for this shit, to do this shit on a full-time basis. And unfortunately, once again, is it going to change anything? I tried it a while back with Ring of Honor. It was, and then with TNA, which was even more travel and more hectic. You can't save wrestling anymore by yourself. So, and if this doesn't work out, then they've given up their own. I assume they're going to give up the podcasts. And well, Paulie doesn't do one, but Bischoff, because you can't. And what about Bruce? Bruce was a big news story about 3 or 4 months ago. What has he done? What is he doing? What is it?
Record low ratings.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying, what is the news on Bruce? I thought he took over some of this. He was going to be Vince's next in command.
He's killing it at catering.
But I mean, he's still doing his podcast, I assume. So did they just give him a part-time job to come to TV? I haven't heard anything about anything. It's been a quiet subject. But anyway, bless them all. Bless them all. I'll just pop in from time to time and do my part-time thing and be at the house. But that is I was thinking about that. I said, what the fuck would I do if somebody said, well, Cornette, you got to go every week to wherever the fuck. And Heyman went to fucking Saudi Arabia. Heyman went to Saudi Arabia. I turned down Israel in World Class in 1985. That's another reason why we gave our notice when we did and went to work for Crockett, because they were going to take us to Israel. Like, fuck that, even then. much less after being 30 years of an internationally renowned superstar. But I just, that was the beautiful thing about the territories. You lived in the territory, you lived in the main city, you were home most nights. Mid-South was quite hectic, but Memphis was actually very pleasant. And then, of course, the Fullers would open up a nice short trip territory. You could go work for them for 6 months every once in a while as a palate cleanser. And you had a home life and you had a personal life and you were in the car with the boys. And then you were in the car with the rats at the matches. And then you were in the car with the boys again and you got paid. You were on TV, made money. You were in the wrestling business. All this fucking international globe-trotting, flying around the fucking world doing sports entertainment killed all the fun in the whole fucking profession.
Who do you predict is going to last longer, Bischoff or Heyman?
Bischoff.
Really? Really?
Well, yeah. Well, hold on. They will either fire Paul Eve for getting mad and yelling at him, or Bischoff for not knowing what he's doing. But which one will take place first? I would think it would take less time for Paul to just say fuck it and start yelling than it would for them to figure out that Bischoff doesn't know what he's doing, because they don't know when anybody else doesn't know what they're doing. They'd have figured it out by now.
Would you turn down $2 million?
Oh, for heaven's sake. Now, hey, would you fuck me for $1 million? Yes. Would you fuck me for $10? No. What do you think I am? We've already established that. Now we're just haggling over price. If it got up to around 5 million, I guess theoretically I could just buy my own custom tour bus and just for a year just drive from one place to another for $5 million.
Maybe buy out one of your neighbors, expand your property.
Well, that would be after the year was over with. Then I'd buy every motherfucker around here and tear all the houses down so I could be in the middle of fucking 500 acres.